A mother released from jail under supervision, tailed by six unmarked police cars, caught twice trying to rent a car and ignoring social workers pounding on her door. That was all today, plus a 72-hour ultimatum to produce her missing 9-year-old daughter, Melodee, or she will face arrest again. Tonight, the story of Melodee Buzzard is exploding before our eyes. Investigators believe she could still be alive.
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. This is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime. Tonight, we return to the rapidly escalating story of Melodee Buzzard. It is a disturbing disappearance of this 9-year-old from Lompoc, California, which is part of Santa Barbara County. It is a case that is literally unfolding in real time with new news breaking almost hourly. Today, just to get you caught up, her mother, 40-year-old Ashlee Buzzard, was released from custody. She was arrested for false imprisonment. We'll get to that. And she was released from custody under supervision after being charged, as I said, with felony false imprisonment. That's for allegedly holding a man hostage with a box cutter in her home. That is a friend of hers. And this comes, as I said earlier, as detectives now serve basically a 72-hour notice, essentially saying, produce Melodee or provide credible information about her whereabouts, or you will be under arrest. Now to Bestguests, and we are honored tonight to have a very close family friend. Melodee's aunt was going to join. She got tied up at work. Here's Michelle Hernandez, who dated Melodee's father and is very close to the grandmother and the rest of the family. And we're going to get some insight from her. We have John Day, criminal defense attorney, to cover the legal angle. Heather Cohen, a private investigator. And check this out. We've got 4 guests tonight. Doesn't always happen. Dr. Leslie Dobson, a psychologist. Dr. Leslie Dobson, a psychologist out of the greater Los Angeles area. Michelle, I got to start with you. How are you doing? This has got to be really brutal on you and the family. How are you personally doing? I know you were in court today.
Just in disbelief. This is something that only happens to, people far away or out of town. It never seems to be, in your backyard or in your close vicinity. So it's just hard because I've been with Lily a lot of the times, and just not knowing anything is just the worst feeling ever.
And Lily is Melodee's grandmother.
Right, Rubiel's mother. So
Okay.
Melodee's grandmother, yes.
So
On
tell
the
us,
dad's side that
yeah.
passed away.
Okay, so tell us a little bit before we get into Melodee and Ashlee, just about Rubiel. He is no longer with us, but he's Melodee's father, and he passed away in a crash. What kind of dad? What kind of person? Obviously, you remain close with him, with the mother, with his mother.
Rubiel died in a motorcycle accident. He was a really loving father. Unfortunately, I was not able to have babies, so he always wanted a baby. He only has a 31-year-old daughter, but unfortunately, he wasn't always around to be there for Karina. So he desperately wanted to have a baby. During one of our breakups, he met Ashlee through a coworker when he was working at Pacific Petroleum. It's a oil company here in Santa Maria in our hometown. He had a baby. She started showing signs of, mental instability. He tried to break it off with her, and that's when she took a bottle of, I don't know what kind of pills, but try to, basically commit suicide because he was trying to leave her. He would always tell me things like, I'm so scared to tell her that me and you are going to be back together. She'll never let me see her, my baby, ever. And looking back now, is like, I never really truly believed Rubiel because most of the time boyfriends always say that the ex-girlfriend's crazy. So I kind of just dismissed it. But now looking at all of this, now I'm like, wow, he was definitely not kidding. It was very serious.
So Ashlee threatened to take her own life because of the potential that Rubiel might leave her at some point.
She did. She actually took a bottle of I don't know what kind of pills.
Mm.
Um, and she tried to do that right in front of him. So he had to call ambulance. And then that's when I believe she was taken into the psychiatric hospital in Atascadero, a few towns away from us.
And do you, in your own opinion, have you seen her deteriorate over the years? I think he passed away in, correct me if I'm wrong, 2015. Has it been?
Six, 2016, and it's been 9 years. And yes, I mean, Ashley used to be a pretty girl, super long, curly hair, bright red.
Mm,
The only odd thing about her back then that Rubiel's mom would notice is that she was very oddly quiet. And so Lily would always say, you know what, Rubiel, I don't have a good feeling about this girl. And Rubiel would just, oh no, mom, she's a good person. She works with kids and she's
mm,
a good person. So, but like now seeing her, we didn't recognize her because she used to have more weight on her, and
mm.
now she's very, very thin. Today in court, she was unrecognizable. I was like in disbelief because she was super, super pale. I don't know if she was wearing a wig at the court because it was just a very short, little
Mm,
curly hair. And then you could see if you zoom in, the sides of her head were shaved. So
mm.
people in the comments all over social media in our hometown, we have a page saying find Melodee. So everybody chimes in and everybody gives their opinions. And a lot of people are saying people that wear wigs usually shave their heads so it's easier for them to put on a wig.
And is that a Facebook page? Is that like a
Yes.
public page? Okay.
Face
Um, and what's the title of that page again?
um missing melody. If you look it up, I can send you the link, but
Okay.
there's two of them right now circulating.
Okay,
Um
I'll get those links from you, and we'll put them in the comments
okay.
section. Before I get to the other guests, you keep mentioning Lily. Lily is Melodee's grandmother. This has got to be devastating for her. How is she holding up?
Honestly, I don't know how that woman does it. She's had a lot of tragedy in her life. She's had within the 5 years of 9 years of Rubiel passing, she had another son, Bert Meza, passed away. Her mother has passed away, her sister has passed away, and this was just basically the cherry on top. And
Mm.
she's a very loving grandmother. She has numerous, I can't even count, of great grandchildren. um, she's a good woman. She works a lot. She's always working. She's always been supportive of Melody. So when all these people try to bash Ruby outside of the family, it's furthest from the truth.
Yeah, well, please send her love from our community, STS Nation, and we'll talk after the show and see, how we could help. But Um, Dr. Dobson, to you, this is a disturbing story on many levels. We've got the psychological, the investigative, and the legal angle here, but I'm always interested in the psychological angle. You just heard from Michelle. She's lost tremendous weight. Her mental health has increasingly apparently gotten worse since the death of her then husband. And then she shows up to court, gaunt, according to Michelle, having lost a lot of weight in this wig. What do you think is happening? I know you can't diagnose her, but what do you think's going on here?
Well, I'm pleased to meet you too, Michelle. When you
Thank
said
you.
Atascadero, I was stunned. I used to work there for many, many years, and you don't just walk in there. You have to have
Exactly.
a serious mental illness and be a threat to physical violence of others to go
Thank
into
you.
that hospital. So the fact that they've released her now makes me think this is for the other panel members that they're tracking her, but there is something significantly wrong here? And just reading things that she would do in her behavior, clenching her eyes, making fists, all the locks on her doors, to me, it sounds like there's a significant amount of delusions and paranoia and probably auditory and visual hallucinations that she's responding to. The scary thing for me is that they sound like they would be command hallucinations telling her what to do. And in that sense, that when you're talking about child trafficking, that is when, people are going to prey on someone
Mm.
vulnerable, mentally vulnerable, or this whole thing could be made up. So this is very perplexing. And I'm so happy you guys are talking about it and getting more vocal and it's getting out there.
So Michelle, I need to go back to you. I mean, in your gut, do you feel like Melodee's still with us? I got hope today because the private investigator, I think, who's working on the case, I believe his name is John Garcia, who's fairly well known. He says that he's got hope that maybe because of these delusions that she was given to somebody in some sort of, maybe Ashlee felt she could trust whoever this is potentially. What does your gut tell you right now?
My gut feeling is that she is alive. Ashley was very like obsessed with Rubiel, so I cannot see her trying to harm her because it was still a part of Rubiel. Um, I'm hoping that she knows where she is. She's just not sane. And all she keeps telling people, or what people are speculating, is that she didn't want Rubiel's family to take her away because she was taken away at one point in time when she was about 4 years old. Marvin Meza got custody of her, and then she was in the hospital, got released, and then she went to Melody school, and I guess took her out, from what Lily, the mother, Rubiel's mom, told me. And then they never seen her again. She cut off her phone number, her contact information. I mean, she like dropped off the face of the earth. Some people say that she went to Ventura and that she fled back here because she had an abusive relationship out there. How true that is, I don't know. People on the Facebook are just chiming in saying, "Oh, I knew her from high school. She was never like that. She was only a quiet person, but she was never this odd."
Mm. And we'll get back to Dr. Dobson on, maybe why the turn. And she's 40 now, so I know things like schizophrenia, those, usually those types of maladies come in your early mid-20s, but we'll get back to that in a second. We've got Heather Cohen here, a private investigator. I mean, Heather, from an investigative standpoint, today she was released back into custody. She was apparently picked up by a friend in a black Lincoln sedan. She's then followed by 6 unmarked police cars. And she went and tried, and this is kind of incredible to me, to rent cars at 2 different rental agencies where she was denied because of credit issues. From an investigative standpoint, let's start with the 6 unmarked police cars. I mean, they're keeping tight tabs on her. They've given her this 72-hour warning. What do you think's happening with this investigation right now?
Well, the obvious is that she is the only person on the planet that knows what happened to her daughter and where she is. So obviously, they're going to be keeping a very close eye on her. I do think that that gives us some hope, though, because if she's trying to rent a vehicle, she could be trying to get back to wherever Melodee is. So that's one angle, and that's that's a positive angle. Or she could be trying to flee and disappear herself.
Yeah.
But I mean, this case is really perplexing, and there's just so many different scenarios that this could be. And so far, I don't think we really have a lot to go on to form an educated, opinion on what the most likely scenario is.
Yeah. John, moving on to the legal aspect here. So Ashlee, as we all heard, the mother had a court date today. The judge said she needed to be released. I think it was $100,000 bond that she was released on under supervision. Felony false imprisonment. I mean, there was nothing else to hold her on. She apparently had a friend come over, and again, we go back to Michelle on this one. She gave him some information, and according to him, got very paranoid. Then took out. This is according to him. Took out a box cutter, and would not let him leave the premise, and started, which is the house that she was in, and started locking doors. Obviously, I think they're looking to hold her. Let's start with just the felony false imprisonment. How serious is that charge? I mean, she was let right out.
Well, it's a gift, Joel. It's a gift to the cops that took place. And a couple of things here. First of all, I'm not so sure the prosecutors were terribly upset that the judge released her. I mean, I bet there was a little bit of a unspoken agreement that if she gets out, law enforcement gets to pursue her, gets to follow her. Given the state she may be in, she might do something that benefits the investigation. So I don't think the prosecutors were crying too hard that she got out, because that's a gift to law enforcement. And then the actual crime, the unrelated crime of false imprisonment, apparently a friend comes over, this guy, Tyler Brewer. He claims to be a process server. He says he's having a conversation with her, and she gives him information that, according to him, and he gives out a statement that's pretty vague and a little unclear, but he says she gives out a statement. She gives a statement to him that may indicate information about the whereabouts. And then she gets upset, some kind of remorse over giving him the statement, and she pulls out a box cutter and doesn't let him leave the house, apparently locks the doors. I mean, that's an odd situation that he felt like he couldn't get past this woman. We don't know the relationship. We don't know the dynamic, but that in itself was a gift to the cops in this, because that gives them give them a reason to pick her up, obviously, and give them a reason to delve deeper into the current situation, the status quo. So a gift to the cops, this false imprisonment, and also releasing her allows them to, she's in a place where she may do something that leads them to Melodee one way or the other.
Yeah. This is a very important story, not for us, but obviously for Michelle Hernandez and her family. She's technically not family, but she might as well be. And please just share, retweet this story, because this she drove, Ashlee did, all the way out to Nebraska, apparently, and they believe that Melodee might be somewhere along the Utah-Colorado border. I got to take a quick break for this. On the flip side, we're going to ask Michelle more about the family. Every once in a while, I've got to get out of the studio. So I'll hit a coffee shop and I'll start working on the podcast. And I did exactly that the other day. And I started thinking, is someone reading my computer? I don't mean like actually reading, but is someone able to hack into my Wi-Fi in a coffee shop? And I realized the answer is yes. And that is exactly why I need Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN is sort of like wearing pants. It keeps all the important parts and makes sure that it stays private, that all your junk is kept in one place and no one is getting to it. It gives you peace of mind, and you get 24/7 customer service. There is no risk in trying Surfshark VPN, and they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So go to surfshark.com, the survivor, or use the code The Survivor at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. And this is exactly what I'm saying. We need to share this far and wide, because someone's going to hear this either here or on whatever other network or YouTube channel, and it's a very active case, and there's hope out there. The first couple of days didn't seem quite as hopeful. Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong about that. I feel like when this story first broke, the people were assuming the worst. Now there's kind of a glimmer of hope. Do you feel that way? Like it's taken a little bit of a turn for the better?
Yeah, just knowing that somebody's seen Ashlee, yeah, gives us hope. And the private investigator, like you said, doing the footwork out there, hopefully somebody speaks. I know that's a very tight-knit community, also Utah, and there's a big Mormon community out there. So I feel like she's not a dumb person at all. She by any means, Ashlee is very, very smart. So everything that she has done, I feel like she has premeditated and planned for many years. Rubiel would always tell me that, please, Michelle, like she'll take my baby and I'll never see her again. And now coming back, like I said, coming back to me, it all is making sense. She's not a dumb woman by any means imaginable.
So when did this nightmare sort of start for the family? Because this goes back to a trip that I think Ashlee takes Melodee on back on October 7th, and now it's like November 12th. When did you, as a family, as a unit, get word that Melodee was missing? When did you know this was happening?
It was October 14th was the day that they called Lily, which is Rubiel's mom, at night. She goes to bed early, so she was frantic at the call because of the timing. I think she said it was past 10:30, and they had said, we're just wanting to know if you know where Melodee is. And she said, well, what do you mean? Lily or none of Rubiel's family knew that Melodee was back with Ashlee. So they had seen her, I want to say 2 years prior to that, and they thought that she was in a foster home of Ashlee's friends. The people, I don't know their names, so I haven't asked, but she was placed in a home, so nobody knew that Melodee was back with her mother, because why she was given back is beyond any of us. She has another daughter also that's older that was taken away from her also.
I'm sorry. And when did you say Melodee was given back? When was
Um,
that?
I honestly do not know. Given back to Ashlee?
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Was
saying. We didn't know that either because she was not supposed to be given back.
But do you know when
So
that happened roughly? Was that years
I
ago or was
think it
that?
was 2 years ago because they said that she was enrolled in Lompoc, like a Lompoc school district. So it had to
Uh-huh.
be 2 years ago.
Okay, and she was taken away because of, was it like a CPS issue where the parenting was not on point?
Right. And I want to say it was because of the hospital in Atascadero incidents. There's been, yeah, I
So,
believe that's the reason why she was placed in a foster home. Rubiel's family tried getting her, and they gave her to Ashlee's Choice, which is her friends in Orchid. That's all I know. I never got their names, and I don't think that they disclosed that information to Lily or Rubiel's family.
well, I have so many questions, but Dr. Dobson, hearing this, that it sounds like there was basically an intervention by CPS, whatever it is in California, and they basically take Melodee away, but then return her back. And she was apparently being homeschooled, but then the school district notified that they weren't getting, that they basically lost track of her. What does it tell you that she lost custody and is given custody back? Obviously, there is problems a lot of problems under the surface, correct?
It sounds like a complete and utter failure of custody, of foster care, of CPS. And around California, and I'm sure John can speak to this more, but CPS is getting sued left and right. They're understaffed, they're undereducated, and the judges involved in family court do not rely on experts when they make their decisions. Had you had me in that room, I would have told you why she was a violence threat, why she was dangerous to be with this child or to care for this child, and all about her mental health through thorough psychological assessments and lie detection assessments. This is just a completely broken system, and that's again what we're seeing in many cases, but now we have this family paying for it.
From Jenny here, Solberg, the court has it ordered a psychological evaluation of Ashlee. Michelle, do you know if the court has ordered that? I assume that has to be part of it.
To be quite honest, everybody was so shocked when we said she had mental issues. And, they bash Rubiel's family all the time. They say that we're just trying to be mean to Ashlee and that we're just bad mouthing her. But Lori Miranda is Ashlee Buzzard's mother, and she went on our local station. You could look it up on
Mhm.
KSBY with Crystal Bermudez, one of the news reporters here. And
Mhm.
she also said that that Ashlee has mental issues, that she was afraid because she used to feed Melodee raw eggs and outdated food, and her mental was nowhere near where somebody should be alone with a baby at that age. And at that time, she was a lot younger than she is now. So probably her younger years.
So this is coming from Ashlee's own mother, but Dr. Dobson, I mean, shouldn't the court order some sort of serious psychological evaluation? Why is she even out right now? Shouldn't she be admitted, like Baker acted into a hospital, mental
I mean,
hospital?
what if she's not a direct threat, an imminent threat to herself, others, and she's not gravely disabled? They have no reason to hold her against her will. If she was able to show that she was sane and understand the consequences to her actions, you know,
Mhm.
clinical insanity is a lot different than legal insanity. It's a high
Mhm.
bar to hold somebody.
Yeah, I mean, John, and I'll get to back to Heather in a second. How high is the bar, John? I mean, a judge can't just say, "Hey, we got to." In California, I think it's, or in Florida, it's Baker Act. I don't know what it is in California, but basically forcibly admitting someone to a hospital for mental health evaluation. How tough is it for a judge to impose that, John?
It's tough. It depends on the jurisdiction, but these are very narrow lanes. I mean, the doctor's right. You have to be able to show that this person is an immediate threat to herself, himself, or somebody else. You've got to get a medical professional to make that initial determination, and then there can be a hold depending on the jurisdiction, how that goes, what the process is for challenging it, and so on. In a criminal case, that's not the only thing that she would even be liable for. Anything right now would be a competency evaluation on that felony false imprisonment case, and that has no one's brought that up yet. So the criminal side, very different. You're not going to have unless she's convicted of something and sentenced, then it's part of a sentencing evaluation. You're not going to have any kind of psychological evaluation on a criminal case. On a custody case, a CPS case, child protective services situation, it's a different story. And again, you've got, as the doctor brought up, is this person an immediate threat? No one's brought up. I mean, we have speculation. Everyone is guessing or has some kind of idea of what may or may not have happened, but there's nothing direct that a court could say, yes, I'm going to put this person on a 72-hour hold or whatever the jurisdiction has, because there's nothing immediate that anyone has brought up other than speculation.
Well, John, what about this? Holding someone hostage with a box cutter doesn't fit being held. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, it's pretty violent.
I know this sounds perverse, but that's not I mean, that's a crime that you probably see a lot of. It doesn't necessarily trigger an evaluation. I mean, on the criminal side, you wouldn't say, okay, pre-trial, before there's a conviction, you don't get to have an evaluation for anything other than competency to stand trial. And competency is very different. It just means, does the person understand the charges against them? Can they participate in their defense? It doesn't go into the areas that we're discussing.
Yeah. Michelle. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
I was just going to chime in on that. The judge was McGregor, and a big point
Mm.
of her getting released was because she's never had any criminal wrongdoings.
Mm.
So that's a big thing in California also. If you have no prior history with that, they think, oh, well, this is a first offense. It's fine.
Yeah.
Even the DA brought up, well, hey, she has a daughter that's missing. She's not okay. She changed license plates. She's done this. She's done that. When she is out on her own recognizance, she doesn't comply with any law enforcement. CPS goes and knocks on her door. Different law people go and try to get answers, and she does not cooperate. So that's what the DA was saying, like, hey, she is an at-risk person, like, we shouldn't. But like the lawyer said, is, I'm thinking they did just want her to be monitored, which was on the GPS monitoring. So if, say, she does want to go somewhere, they'll track her every move. But I was under the impression when you're on GPS, the monitor that you can't go out of city limits. So I don't know how much of a help that would be.
From Lee, thank you for elaborating there. Lisa Mona Tootsie here. How is it, Heather? She's allowed to get away without saying a word. Why is it that she doesn't have to talk? Now, you know, we see this all the time in the interview room with police where someone says, I want an attorney. I don't even know if she has to do that. Everyone has a right to remain silent, Heather. But how problematic? I mean, obviously, it's a huge problem for investigators. What do investigators do when someone refuses to talk? There's obviously this 72-hour imposement coming, with an arrest. But if you're working this case, what do you do when someone's just not talking at all, literally just being mute?
Well, it definitely makes it harder to do our job, but I would say you go to the next layer, you go to the friends and to the family and dig in the history and everything and anything you can, surveillance and, I mean, this is a big case and with the jurisdictional agencies involved, I'm sure they're following her. Like we know that they could be tapping, her phones, just waiting for some sort of move. And I think it was a really smart idea actually to let her out because, that's going to hopefully give us some sort of clue. And if there's nothing, if she doesn't do anything, then I don't think that's a good sign. But, at some point she's got a break. I think it's obvious that she's had some sort of mental break, but I think that the big question here is that mental break a violent break? Is it something, or is it something else? Like, like the doctor said a while ago, Dobson, is that right? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Dobson.
Dr. Dobson said a while ago, that she's, seems very paranoid, with all the locks and all the different things that she's doing. So maybe, I think best case scenario, and maybe this is just me being a mom and finding it almost, incomprehensible that a mother would hurt a child, but maybe in her delusional world, she really thinks that she's protecting this child from something.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Dr. Dobson that in a second. So the sheriff's office, Santa Barbara, released a statement saying Ashlee Buzzard remains uncooperative and has not provided detectives with any information about Melodee's current location or condition. Again, they're giving her 72 hours. I mean, John, why 72 hours? Why not 24 hours? What's going on there? And why can they couldn't arrest her before? Why can they arrest her now?
Well, this gets into issues of what the jurisdiction allows. 72 may be the standard in California. The idea, it's sort of like getting a search warrant from a court too. You're saying produce these documents, produce these videotapes, produce this child that you are responsible for. So it's a hybrid essentially of a criminal and a child, a children's court case. But it's also something that law enforcement does. Even if they don't have the direct authority, it's not a bad move. I mean, they don't have to be accurate. They can say, do this within X number of hours, or we're going to arrest you. Do they have to arrest her? No. Do they have the authority? It depends on the jurisdiction. But what they're trying to do is light a fire under her, and she's out. She's free to do whatever she wants. And again, we're applying rationality to what looks like a very irrational situation. But the idea is she going to lead law enforcement to Melodee in one way or the other? Is she going to have conversations with people that she trusts that are going to be recorded? Is she going to go play? I mean, the idea that she's tried to rent 2 cars after the initial car rental trip out to Nebraska and back through the Four Corners, which incidentally is my part of the world. If you want to do something evil, that's a place you can do it. There's wide open spaces, and it's really scary, the idea that there's not a lot of surveillance, towns, things like convenience stores, gas stations, things like that. So that's concerning, obviously. But the idea that the sheriff's office is saying, produce this child or we're going to take action against you, they're trying to make her make a move.
Yeah, John Day's in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where there is plenty of room to do a lot of bad things potentially. Michelle, I just want to come back to you. So the court hearing was today. Just take us inside. I mean, how many people were there? How long did it last? Was anyone there there to like publicly support Ashlee in the sense of leaving her alone, or did everyone basically want law enforcement or someone to get involved here?
So what had originally was told to everybody, even in court documents, that court was at 1:30. So they did a like okey dokey on everybody because nobody was there. They called Lily and said, you know what, we changed it to 8:30. And I believe that was because they didn't want a frenzy of people there or the media there. Um, and so, no, there was only about 5 reporters there that sat on the right-hand side. And there was 2 other people that I believe are like that follow the case that are on TikTok that like to share information. And then it was myself, Lily, and then other people in the court, but they had already all been called and everything. So like I said, if it was at the original set time, I believe that courthouse would have been more packed, but it thankfully it wasn't. Mr. Galvin was her public defender, and he requested that all media not even record Ashlee. And I'm pretty positive that that was per her request, because if you have been reading and following, they didn't even provide a mugshot of her when she was arrested. And we don't know why. But today, when she got into the courtroom, I mean, super short, little curly hair. I think it was a wig. Her face was pale, 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 like soulless and somber, super scary.
Yeah.
Me and Lily were in like shock. It, it was really scary.
I know you're never supposed to ask a woman her age, but can I ask you how old Lily is? This is Melodee's grandmother.
We call her Forever 21, so I'm just gonna leave it right there.
But she's at the point.
She's very up in age, but she's well maintained for her age, and she's
Well,
well active, works 2 jobs, so she's
wow. No,
very here in the mind.
yeah, I'm just asking because the stress has got to be overwhelming, especially considering all the other stuff that you said. She's been through losing multiple children, her own mother, all that. John made a great point here from Thank You Next, saying that we are applying rational thoughts to a very irrational situation, which brings me back to Dr. Leslie Dobson. I mean, we're all looking at this. I wouldn't call myself normal by any means, but somewhat normal. But we're looking at through our own lens, not through the lens of an Ashlee Buzzard. I mean, that's a pretty valid point, correct, Dr. Dobson?
Yeah, I mean, I like to tell people, if somebody is really enduring severe schizophrenia or anything like that, command hallucinations, delusions, imagine being in a rave with house music bumping. It's dark. Everyone you've ever known in your entire life is screaming curse words at you. People are asking you to write essays and sentences, and they're asking you questions that need to be linear. All of this is going on in their head at the same time. It's utter chaos. So what I would do with her, and now I know that they're kind of you know, they're doing the police way. But what I would do is I would befriend her. I would say, "Hey, girl, what's going on? We don't even have to talk about your daughter. How are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
And we got to get her guard down, because when you do that, the command hallucinations will also begin to trust you as well. And then they'll say to her, "This girl's cool. You can talk to this girl." Because clearly she told the guy. Then the voices likely said to her, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now you're going to have to off him."
Yeah. Now, Leslie, let me ask you a couple of follow-ups here. I mean, for those of us who are not psychologists like you, what is the difference between command hallucinations and, let's say, schizophrenia? When I think of schizophrenia, I think of hearing voices in your head. But what is the difference between those two? And that picture you painted of being at like a rave, dark and scary, and you're on drugs and everyone's screaming. And that's a very frightening. If that's what's going on in her mind, that's a very terrifying place to be, isn't it?
It's a house of horrors. And, you know, I would start with kind of psychosis as our umbrella. So that can be a variety of different psychotic elements. Then we have schizophrenia. Now, in schizophrenia, you're going to hear voices, you're going to see things that aren't real. Sometimes the voices are going to tell you what to do and they're going to threaten you. And the threats are going to be so personal because they're coming from your own mind that you are 100% going to believe them. You're also going to be very paranoid, very vigilant, and you will have delusions. So that's where, you know, a voice or a hallucination might be, you know, I see Michael Jordan, he's right next to me right now. The
Mhm.
delusion is I am Michael Jordan. And
Mm.
so we don't know what's going on with her, but there are elements like when he said that she was squeezing her eyes closed,
Mhm.
that's usually when a person is trying to silence that rave so that they can hear the command more clearly.
Wow.
Wow.
W-
It's crazy.
Wow. Michelle, have you heard any of these types of explanations before? Is this the first time you're hearing it?
As far as what?
Like this mental health, what could be? I mean, Dr. Dobson can't diagnose her, but is this the first time you're hearing a psychologist kind of explain what might be going on?
Oh yeah, and that's why a lot of the community is feeling sorry for her, and I get that. They also have brought up like when she was 9 years old, her and her mother fled from her abusive father. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it because now they're saying like she's almost reenacting it, and to me that's scary because if that's the case, I surely hope that's not true. But on the other hand, at least Lori Miranda, which is Ashley's mother, cared for her enough to want to take her away. And as far as Ashley, I like to look at body language, and looking at those videos just break my heart because she walks in ahead of her daughter. I have a beautiful 16-year-old daughter, and I don't even let her walk to the restroom in public places alone just because I know there's so many weirdos out there. And so when I seen her walk ahead of her like she's just more inferior than that beautiful little girl, it broke me. And putting her back towards her broke me. She looked like she mouthed something to her, like either to be quiet or something. And then you see Melody cross her cute little arms as if like, and she
Mm.
does a little smirk like how her dad Rubial would have done.
Mm.
And it just it's sad. It's super sad.
Michelle,
I
I mean, if you, sorry, I thought you were done speaking. I
Oh, it's okay.
apologize, but um, if you had to go back to 2016, when Rubiel, his life is lost, sadly, from that point to this point, can you say a year or a time where suddenly you saw this like precipitous drop with Ashlee and her mental
I
health?
I couldn't say that because I have not seen her since Rubiel's funeral. Um,
Hmm.
so I couldn't even touch on that I couldn't.
Yeah,
Just seen her. This is the first time I've seen her when they got the phone call about Melody, and then they right away called me and let me know. And I've never seen her at all or had any interaction with her, so I couldn't say that. But just from 2016 to seeing her now, dramatic change.
yeah, and this is a still shot from court, I believe. Dr. Dobson, I'll get back to Heather and John in a second. I apologize. We don't usually have four guests and one who is a tight family friend. So I'm obviously asking Michelle a lot of questions. But Dr. Dobson, um, if you look at this photo, what do you see that maybe we don't see? I mean, she certainly looks, like somber and a little, on the downside, but what do you see, if anything? And Bree is also asking about noticeable weight loss, which I
Yeah.
mean, for Michelle would notice that. Obviously, we wouldn't notice it as much, but what about all these factors? What are you looking at here?
She looks really worn out, you know, and we can empathize with that part, right? But we also need to realize that she conducted an instrumental crime that was highly organized, appeared professional, and she's an adult. And she chose what she did. So we have to be able to hold both at the same time. There may be something super wrong with her, but also as an adult, she has not cared for herself or chosen responsible um, things to do to help her or to help her child. And so she should be held accountable. I just wanted to mention one thing. Um, I love doing TikTok and Instagram videos and boosting them directly to the counties that I want people to see it. So if anyone is going to follow these accounts, you can boost the videos directly to those areas to wake people up. And somebody in Utah who might not normally come across this content on their social media might
Oh.
see it.
Well, if someone's out there and knows how to edit clips and wants to do that, by all means, you have my permission to take this and put it in Utah, put it in Colorado, because that's the border where they think, or at least where she was last seen, which is a great idea, Dr. Dobson. Bottom right photo here is a picture that the Daily Mail got. They literally were going through Google Images. That's what they said in their story, and found this from 2023. Sort of, just innocent picture of Melodee looking back. Apparently, that's a teacher from homeschooling. That's what I was told. I don't know if that's the case, but Heather, to you, there's a question a lot earlier on asking essentially, so they arrested her when she was being held. Was there an opportunity then for authorities to go through digital forensics to look at her cell phone? Was that seized? Is that something that they were doing during the period of her arrest when she was being held in custody?
I would assume. I would think that they got the warrant to search the cell phone and get the cell phone records. And, they should be able to get ping locations and, at least get some sort of idea, if they haven't already, of all the locations that she visited during that time frame.
Yeah, and let me just go to a timeline here, Heather, with you. So it's October 7th that she goes and rents, and keep in mind, she tried to rent from 2 different rental agencies today on November 12th. But back on October 7th, she rents a white 2024 Chevy Malibu. She has California plates on there. She begins a multi-state trip that same day. And when she gets out of California, I believe, she switches to New York plates, obviously showing some sort of premeditation that she had enough wherewithal to change plates. And then October 9th is the last verified sighting of Melodee Buzzard near, again, the Colorado-Utah border. What is most critical for investigators right now? Is it to create a timeline? Is it to look at surveillance video? Is it to look at the telematics of the car? What is most critical?
All of it. There's every piece of it, paints a picture. I would say, even if I was an investigator on the case, I would retrace the steps. I would do my best to take the same route and stop every place I could along the way, and talk to people, talk to locals in those areas, and just, no rock unturned.
Yeah. I don't know if this is too personal, Michelle. Someone's asking in the chat, and feel free to, you don't have to answer every question if you don't want, but why was Ashlee, why was her name not mentioned in Rubiel's obituary, which I had no idea that was the case. Was there tension there, I guess, at that point when he left us?
Well, I wanted to clarify, but I didn't want to interrupt you, but they were never married.
Okay, yeah.
So that's
I
a
was
big reason. And Lily's very a traditional Catholic. And if you're not married, you do not get put in an obituary. It was nothing personal towards her, and that's what I'm saying. All the little naysayers and all the people that speak badly about Rubiel's family, that's just something to nitpick at. But that's the reason, because she was never married to him.
okay. And you know what? I meant to actually follow that up because I wasn't 100% sure, but I'm glad you clarified it. So they were never actually married. There's so much to take in here. Do you know when the decision was made, Michelle, to homeschool her? And also, just, I know you hadn't been in touch with Ashlee. I don't know if you had seen Melodee often. Do you know you hadn't? What did people tell you about her behavior, the way she was acting as a child? Was she closed off?
So in earlier pictures, she looks very happy. Ashley looks like she's in a good place. She had her original curly hair. It was a lot shorter, heavier set. she seemed to be doing well. Um, and then when she moved to Lompoc is when the neighbor that watches very carefully, she has video surveillance of the way her door is directly to her garage, but her front door. So she has a camera and she sees everything that Ashlee and Melodee did. So they said for the 2 years that she lived there, it's called the Village in Lompoc, and the little girl never went outside ever. And if she did, she was always wearing a hoodie over her, like Ashlee had always just told her maybe to cover her face, or who knows. I'm just only saying because what kind of a mother? In California, we have beautiful weather. Central Coast is like known for hot weather. So a little beautiful child like Melodee should not be covered in a big hoodie like that. They never seen her interacting with any other children on the block. The neighbor that lives next door says that she never had any friends, any family. And the reason for the rental car is not only because she went on this thing, is because she never had a car of her own. So she to get
Mm.
around, she'd call Uber, Lyft, or taxis or rent cars, but she never had a vehicle of her own.
Yeah. Um, this guy who I read that he was a friend, and I trust John more than I trust myself. He read that this guy, Tyler Brewer, the guy that she held against his will, was some sort of process server. Do you know Tyler Brewer, who this person is?
No, and see, that's another big misunderstanding. As soon as we got out of court this morning, all of the media that was in there, like I said, about five reporters, a couple from LA, a couple local, and that was one of the first questions they asked Lily, do you know who Tyler is? Because they're saying that he's a friend of the family and that he knows you guys, and the family supposedly, got him to go and befriend Ashlee to try to get information, but
Mm.
farthest from the truth.
Well, apparently he came clean with police about what he knew. Is that what you understand?
That's only hearsay because that's only, yes, I've heard that. But
Oh.
today was like when she got arrested, then he put out a statement saying that whoever attacks his name and his character, that, they could be held responsible for that legally.
Mhm,
But we had no idea. When I say we, I mean Rubiel's mom, myself,
mhm.
Rubiel's brother and sisters had no idea who that person was. So they said that I don't know who the Tyler guy is at all.
Okay, I'm sure that'll be made available, if not already, and John's probably right about that. But I've heard a friend, Isagal Aksu, is from Turkey. They're showing us coming up on Thanksgiving, different kind of turkey. They're showing us a lot on the mother, but could that be because they're actually searching for something or someone beyond what the public sees? Heather, I'll have you address that. I mean, the answer is we don't know what we don't know. We have no idea really what the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office might be looking at. For all we know, they know the identity of, hypothetically, of a person that may have her, and I'm sure maybe they're trying to run that down. We just don't know, right?
Right. Well, because we really don't know what the mother has been saying. We don't know what Tyler said. And they're being tight-lipped about it, as they should be. But I don't know. Like I was almost getting sort of Casey Anthony vibes. Like, is she making stuff up? Like Zanny the nanny, is she throwing, dead end leads at them?
Yeah.
That's possible, but we can only speculate about that. Like, we don't know if she's just sitting there tight-lipped staring at the wall or if she's saying anything.
Thank you to one of our OGs, Ned Smith, for gifting 5 Surviving the Survivor memberships. Back to
Can
Dr.
I chime in on that really quick?
Yeah, please.
So Tyler also put in his statement that he wasn't sure if he believed Ashlee. So that's another thing. So he did say that that he supposedly told her, but then he took it back and said, "Well, I don't know if I believe her." So I don't know if that's credible or not. I am
Right.
hoping it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Dobson, I mean, I know it's impossible to get inside a person's mind, especially if they're having, a mental health episode, but she goes back today, which is really curious, to try to rent from 2 different rental car agencies. I guess, what's your interpretation of that? I mean, she doesn't have a car, so it could be as simple as she's trying to get groceries, but in her mind, it could be she's hearing another voice and maybe needs to go retrieve her daughter. I don't know. What do you make of that?
I mean, something is wrong with her, clearly, right? So, but she's already giving us ideas of where to look and how to follow. And I think that's wonderful. I think we need to give her a long leash and track her. But you mentioned Casey Anthony. It's giving me more like Lori Daybell vibes. And I'm
Mm,
wondering if she is focused on some kind of made up delusional religion. And there is some kind of higher power that she has, you know, offered the child to. It's giving too much of this higher level paranoia because of the structure and the instrumental planning that went on. I mean, imagine you got to take potty breaks, you got to eat, you got to get gas. There's so much you have to do to travel so far. You have to be emboldened, and you have to thoroughly believe what you are doing to go to that degree while battling whatever mental health disorder she seemed to battle.
yeah.
And if she had the baby, what, around 30 years old, I mean, that's still a huge stressor. And then he passes away. She seems to be delusionally obsessed with him. uh, those are all massive stressors that can cause a significant decline. And if the little girl is wearing a hoodie going outside in California weather, I mean, she's clearly making this little girl scared because
Mhm.
she's scared. She's paranoid.
Yeah, and Dr. Dobson, I mean, is there legitimate concern right now that she could potentially take her own life because of the paranoia? Is that something that people have to be careful of right now?
I don't get the sense at all that she would take her own life. I get the
Oh,
sense that she's on a mission. Now,
okay.
I don't know who put her on the mission, if the mission's made up or if there's an external person,
Mm.
but I get the sense that she wants to go somewhere to complete something, and we have to
Wow.
figure out what it is.
This is fascinating because this is both a mental health episode and a potentially criminal case wrapped into one, playing out in real time. And sadly, it is Michelle Hernandez, obviously extremely close to the family, that's dealing with this. Another issue that's a huge stressor, financial struggles. I read that the reason she couldn't rent the car wasn't because she's being watched by police. It's because she's filed for personal bankruptcy. She owes at least one credit agency, I think, credit card company, like $23,000. Michelle, what do you know about her financial struggles and unpaid debts and all that? And she's not working.
So all of that was unknown to me, but of course I follow all the Facebook, everything. And the neighbor that always is giving all the information says that Ashley is on public housing. So that's called like a Section 8 program here in California where the government pays for her house because she lives in a very nice put together home. It's
Mm,
like a 3 bedroom, 2 bath in a good area called the Village in Lompoc, where
mm,
the base is located at.
mm.
So, and she, I believe, gets benefits from Rubial because he worked at Pacific Petroleum and she collects benefits for Melodee because Rubial worked,
That's interesting.
but only on a
Well,
fixed income, so no other income. And prior, she was working as a teacher's aide of some sort through the Santa Maria Bonita School District. So that's strikingly odd to me also, because by no means should she be around children if she can't even protect her own.
correct. Lisa, again, Tootsie back. Is she by any chance collecting? So Melody is getting the benefits from her father, Rubiel, which probably almost definitely are going directly to Ashley to help support the family, I would guess. But John Day, back to you. So these 72 hours are ticking. Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office basically said, hey, you have 72 hours, then we're going to arrest you again. I guess in concert with prosecutors in that county? What are prosecutors doing right now, if anything?
Well, they're relying on the legwork of law enforcement to get these, put these facts together, do the tracking, and do the evaluating, find anyone who has any information. But, and this is, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about, and this may be something more for Dr. Dobson and Heather, but the idea that she took these steps to deceive in terms of wearing wigs, changing license plates, changing appearances, is that indicative more of like a bad outcome and a homicide, or is it a clue that this is something that it doesn't end that tragically? I mean, again, applying rational thought to an irrational situation, but what do those steps mean when someone is trying to deceive, knowing that people are probably going to see this deception down the road? I mean, I don't know, but as former prosecutor, I'm fascinated to know what is in the minds of these prosecutors right now, but I'm just curious about what the deception is all about.
Yeah. And John Day, no offense to you or Heather, but in this case, I'm most interested probably to hear from Dr. Dobson, because it's kind of fascinating. My dad was a psychiatrist, and my mother's a licensed therapist, so I'm very fascinated by the psychological aspect of this. And so, Dr. Dobson, again, we'll get back into this, and I'll ask Michelle about it as well. But she goes on this 2,000-mile road trip, which, by the way, takes a tremendous amount of energy and resources, especially with a child. If you ask me what's the last thing on earth you want to do, I would say take a cross-country trip with my 3 kids. It would be absolute torture for me. They would love it. But what do you make of the fact that she had herself and Melodee wearing wigs, as we see right here in this rental agency, that she has the wherewithal to switch license plates? Does this fit with this sort of delusional behavior?
I've seen it on both sides, right? Like, her behavior is so freaking odd. The license plates, these wigs, they're hideous. It's all odd, right? So is she on this mission because it's all just this fabricated mental health, Lori Daybell kind of stuff? Or is she being tipped off? I mean, I've been a part of federal cases where the individuals are schizophrenic and they're picked out because of their vulnerability. They're groomed into then becoming the trafficker. So it really, we need more evidence, but either way, it tells you that something not good has happened. And to be very honest, I don't have a lot of hope that the child is still alive, and that is what is terrifying to me.
Well, I mean, I was just going to ask you that. So with someone who's exhibiting this kind of mental health episode, how often is violence associated with it? In other words, do you think she went and purposely took this trip to harm her daughter? Is that common with these sorts of episodes?
Well, she purposely took this trip with her daughter in secret and did not return with her. There was reason for her to do this. It's the really sad part to think about, but the likelihood of this much time passing and a child who has the ability and understanding to use a telephone, it's incomprehensible.
From Emmy here, Nikolov, share the missing person flyer everywhere. Again, if you're able to cut clips from this show, anyone's show, I don't care whose it is. It could be Grizzly True Crime. It could be a number of other people who have covered it. I don't even know who has covered it, but whoever it is, just share the clips. And you heard Dr. Dobson say that you could share directly to Colorado and Utah, and I'll try to see if we can do that on our social media as well. But Michelle, back to you. When did you first hear about this, the road trip and the wigs and the changing of the license plate? And what was your family saying when they got all those details?
Scared. When everyone else heard it, when it was I can't remember the date offhand, but when everybody else heard it for the first time, they're not really revealing a lot of information. And that was based off of Lily's decision, because at the time she was just a hot mess. So she left Liz Meza, which is Bert's wife, to be the vocal go-to person since she was married to her son. So Liz Meza would have, all the contact information from, the sheriffs and things like that. And me, myself, I don't share a lot of things with Lily only because I know that it's super hard for her. And I just try to keep it to a minimum with her. She doesn't need to know everything that's been said. So today, when she heard about Tyler, she was just like, "Who's Tyler?" So I had to kind of just run it down to her really briefly and let her know. But like I said, I hide a lot of things from her. She's up there in age and she doesn't need the stress.
That's very good of you. My own mother, who's my co-host, I don't know that you know that, Michelle. She's on the show Friday. She's 86, and I share too much with her. She always says to me, "Don't share everything with me." So now I don't share everything, almost
Right.
everything.
Right.
But Heather, to you, the last confirmed sighting. A few more things, and we'll get some
Just,
final
I'm
thoughts
going to
here.
cut you off real fast. I got to run.
Oh, Dr. Dobson,
Okay.
any quick final thoughts before you run?
I
Thank
got
you
a
so much.
client. My only thought is if anybody knows this woman, be nice to her, draw her in, give her all the sweetness in the world. We need to keep her calm and we need to keep her talking. And it's very easy to build trust with somebody who has no one to talk to.
Excellent advice. Dr. Dobson, you're a rock star. Thank you for being here. We'll get you back on soon. Thank you.
Michelle, you're welcome to reach out to me if I can help in any way at all. Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
That's why we've got the
Okay.
best community. Thank you, Dr. Dobson. And Michelle, remind me, we'll stay after for a minute and I'll get you some information. So Heather, to you, I was just going to go to the last confirmed sighting. Melodee alive back on I think it was October 7th.
7th is when she went from the rental car. So I think it was
Yeah.
3 days later is when
Yeah.
they see her
So, like,
returning at a gas station in Utah.
in Utah. I don't know if it was, I have here October 9th. I don't know if it was the 9th or the 10th, but you would know better than me. But
I think it was a month.
the 9th. Okay. So Heather, on the 9th is the last sighting near the Utah-Colorado border. Now that's 1,500 miles roughly from Lompoc, California. What do investigators do with that? Are they scouring surveillance video around there? Do they have to go out there? Are they working in concert with local law enforcement there? What do they have to do?
Well, a private investigator, usually being hired by the family, very rarely is law enforcement going to be, they aren't usually going to work together with a private investigator. It's sort of one thing that I run into is it's like, I can share my information with them. They're not sharing their information with me. And that's fine. I get it. But yeah, I mean, it's everything. It's just the footwork. And I feel like, and I've said this a lot. See, law enforcement, they have a stack this tall of cases on their desk, that are all equally important that they need to work. And so they have a lot to do, a lot to juggle. But the good thing about private investigators is that, when we're hired by a family and whatever, we can make that our full-time job. We can make that case our full-time job. And in some cases, like myself, like I don't have a lot else to do. We can literally just do it around the clock and just, until the wheels fall off, travel all over the country. But I think that, one thought that really just kind of hit me as you were talking was that I can't imagine, sorry if this comes across brass, but I can't imagine that she would drive that far just to kill her, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I know you're not supposed to say that anymore. But it doesn't make sense. Like, she could do that closer to home. She doesn't need to drive that far to do that. So, I mean, I understand that it's like desolate out there and whatnot, but there's other desolate places I think that would have been closer.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that that's what she was doing. So what was it then? So I don't know. I think that I would put that on the bottom of my list if I was working this case, that's what her intent was to do. I think I would put, I think number one would be, man, I really like Leslie, by the way. She was really good.
Yeah, she's excellent.
She said a lot of really good things that just provoked made me think. And I think that at the top of that list is the psychiatric break. We know that she was homeschooling the child. Mm-hmm. So that tells me, okay, she probably doesn't trust the school system. Okay. She doesn't trust the government to educate her child. And, there's a lot of conspiracy stuff going on about that, right? About indoctrinating our children and so on and so forth. So she could be, somebody that really firmly believes that. Not saying it is or isn't, just making a point. And so I think there's just a lot of distrust in the government and the state, and she probably with the whole CPS thing. So I think this is a paranoid, like saying, just I think it was a psychiatric break, and maybe she took her somewhere and hid her. And then somewhere under there, of course, we have to consider sex trafficking.
Yeah, for sure. And I think paranoia is a huge part of this. Everyone, welcome to my world. John Day knows this is not personal. Let the guy talk. They're talking about John Day. I've been watching for 30 minutes now, and the guy hasn't said one word. First of all, we had 4 guests on, which we typically don't do. Trying to mix it up as best as I can, and it's fascinating. And we've got Michelle, who's essentially family. She at one point was in a relationship with Melodee's father and is very close with Melodee's grandmother. But John Day, in the criminal complaint, it describes Ashlee's actions, and here are some of the words used: violence, menace, fraud, deceit. Legally, what, if anything, does that tell you about where this case is headed with those types of descriptors?
Well, this is the complaint on the false imprisonment case.
Yeah.
Joel. So what's significant about that is those are elements that the state has to meet in establishing, convincing a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that this happened. So that's a separate case. But again, that's the stepping stone that I think was a gift to law enforcement because. And whether this guy, Tyler, I have to say, I was listening to what Heather was saying, and I certainly agree. And she's a lot of really good insights. But if I'm law enforcement and I have a guy who might know something, I might send him in innocently or not to try to befriend, try to befriend Ashlee and see if he has some kind of connection to her and he's ever worked with law enforcement in the past. A smart investigator is going to say, go for it. Go see what you can learn if you're friendly with her or try to befriend her. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing illegal about it. You're going to use every tool in the toolbox to do that. But the elements of the false imprisonment, which apparently happened allegedly after he goes to try to talk to her, and whether it's an intentional law enforcement act or whether this is just something he's doing on his own, something about it upsets her after she gives him some information. A lot of things we don't know. What's that information? Has that been helpful to law enforcement? What's going to happen with that? I mean, ultimately, these cases, there's going to be a break, whether it's hopeful or not. There is going to be a break. Something's going to happen. And we're going to know something sooner or later. And obviously, hopefully it's good news and that this sweet little kid is just somewhere and she'll be reunited with, sane, normal people at some point.
Yeah, let's hope that is the case. Michelle, final question for you, then we'll get final thoughts. I mean, do you know of any family or any connection either in Nebraska, Colorado, Utah, or on the way out to Nebraska? I'm sure you all had a conversation about this and said, hey, do we know anybody, aunts, uncles, cousins that she could have been in contact with? Have you discovered anything along those lines?
Well, Lori Miranda, her mother, did say that Ashlee's biological father had ties in those areas.
And is that something that you guys have told, I assume, law enforcement about? Do they know? Are they following up with people?
That I could not be certain. Like I said, I haven't talked to no law enforcement or anything like that, but this is all very public. We're a small little town. Everything's on Facebook. So this is, this was broadcasted that Ashlee, coming from Ashlee's own mother, that Ashlee's biological father had ties with people or family in that area. I believe it was Utah.
Um, Man, I hope she is found. Heather Cohen is a private investigator. She's been on the show before. Heather, your final thoughts here as we get ready to say goodbye. I mean, obviously, a lot of time has passed. Time is the enemy for investigators. But what do you think is next for this case?
Well, hopefully, Ashlee's going to give us something to go on. I think that's what comes next. And, you know, as you said at the beginning of the show, I mean, things are happening so fast in this case. It's when it goes silent that we have to worry. So as long as it's moving, as long as things are happening, then we can also hold to hope and just pray and come together and pray to God that this little girl is found. And I want to also offer, if there's anything I can do, Michelle, please feel free to reach out to me as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, I say best guest, better community. John Day, he's a criminal defense attorney. He's also one of the more popular men on Surviving the Survivor. I'll tell you that, on a largely female-based John. So John, I'll spare you that. Law enforcement essentially said, and this is a quote here: "Produce your child within 72 hours or be arrested." I think we all know what that means, but from a law enforcement and a legal standpoint, what should we make of that? And your final thoughts?
Well, it's a threat. You know, law enforcement can say anything they want to. I mean, whether there's the legal force of the law to back up, again, that gets into a hybrid between like children's court cases and criminal cases. But if you're a cop and you're investigating this case, you're going to do everything you can. It's a smart move to say, turn her over, or you're going to be arrested. They're trying to keep the pressure on. They know that when people are under pressure, they do things that are going to lead to breaks for law enforcement. So this is smart. These are all smart moves. Whether they can actually arrest her if she doesn't produce, a child, I mean, that remains to be seen. But I think it's a very smart move for law enforcement to say that. It keeps the pressure on her. And we know, I mean, as soon as she gets released from custody on this other charge, she does some things that seem a little odd, like trying to rent cars to different places. What everybody also knows is that she's being watched 24/7. Everything that she has contact with is being observed. You know, DNA is being taken from everything she's touching. I mean, they're on it, and there's going to be a break, and I hope it's a break that leads to good news, obviously. But she's going to do something to mess up and lead us to Melodee one way or the other.
Let's embarrass John one more time. Rachel N. Dang it. John has some serious fangirls in here. Good for him. There you go. Hashtag STS singles. By the way, the COE, that's my wife, Michelle, chief of everything on the show. And guess what? She's at a girls' night dinner. There is a babysitter at home. The question is, do I go home after the show, or do I go somewhere for a while? That's my question. Weigh in on that, please. We have Michelle, who is Heather. I'm going to have you mute for a sec. I think that I'm sorry. It's our Fisher Price set here. I think if you unmuted, but Heather is here. Heather is essentially family, as I said. She dated Melodee's father, Michelle Hernandez. I mean, Michelle, what's something you want us to know about Melodee tonight? And I apologize, we didn't focus on her as much as I wanted to, but there's so much kind of breaking news with this. What would you want us to know about her, and your final thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, I can't really speak on her, how she is, only by seeing what I've saw on videos that Lori Miranda, the grandmother, has provided, and that Marvin has showed pictures of her when she was happier, when Ashlee was in a better state of mind than she is right now. So I can't really speak on that. I've only seen her 9 years ago at Rubiel's funeral. I carried her in my arms. She was super, super happy. She looks identical to Rubiel. I mean, splitting image. If I will have to show you a picture of Rubiel, but she's beautiful, just like Rubiel and the Meza family. They have strong traits, Filipino blood and Mexican. So
Mm.
she just has an awesome smile from what I see. And then I've also seen her decline from when Marvin and his wife had her as a happy child. And then as she goes back with Ashlee, and not to talk bad about her, but you can see the somberness, you can see the, the body language, you can see just, I mean, anybody that's in isolation. I mean, I know COVID did that to all of our children, right? And we see where they are now, how they're not, thriving in life because of that setback. So I can only imagine Ashlee's been her only person to go to for 9 years, and that weighs heavy on my heart. Like, what has she told her? Has she said mean things about Rubiel? Does she lie and say bad things about Rubiel and his family? I have no idea. So I'd be lying if I said I know her personality, but I just see the decline in what I've seen from videos and pictures.
And what do you need from us, the public? How can we help you and the family?
Prayer, because I do have a strong faith, and I believe that, God listens to prayers, and he's gonna bring Melody home safe. And I'm sure Rubiel would be. I know Rubiel's with her, and I feel in my heart and in my gut that she is alive, only because I don't feel like Ashlee could harm her, even though I don't agree with anything she's doing, and I believe she's a bad mother, and I believe she needs mental help. I just don't see her hurting her because she loved Rubiel so much.
Well, please send along, our thoughts and our prayers to your family. I know investigators are working on this. I know the private investigators working on this. Law enforcement in different states are working on it, and there's going to be a break, as John said, and I think a couple of the other guests said it. There will be a break. I think Heather said that also, and we will hopefully get good news. And please let us know if we can help. And do me a favor, stick around 1 second after the show, and we'll get information. Thank you, everybody. Love you, America. Tomorrow night, Katie Magbanawala's juror from the second trial coming on. Never heard from this person, and Tim Jansen will be here to essentially conduct the interview with me. So be here tomorrow for that. And then Carm and I will be doing something on Friday, still figuring it out, maybe dissecting what this juror says, or working on another show about Melodee Buzzard. If you know anything about Melodee Buzzard, call 911 right now and tell law enforcement if you have seen Melodee Buzzard. And let me put up a photo for her real quickly one more time. There she is. Sorry to cut you off there, Heather. That is little Melodee Buzzard. Top left is the best photo. If you see her, know anything about her, call authorities. We will see you tomorrow. Guys, stick around 1 second.